Hi, I'm Sunil the pastor of the Conshohocken United Methodist Church, which is here in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. Thank you again for joining us for this week's devotion. And we are looking at a really great story. You may have heard it before. It's called the parable of the Good Samaritan. And let me read it to you. It says, starting from verse 29 of Luke 10, Jesus says, answering a question to a person asking, "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers, who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now, by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed on the other side. So likewise a Levite," another religious person, "when he came to the place and saw him, passed on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved to pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, 'Take care of him, and when I come back I will repay you whatever more you spend.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?" That man replied, "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." You need to understand the context. And the context is this: Samaritans were unacceptable to Jewish people. Unacceptable, why? Because they came from a Jewish blood, but they had intermarried with foreigners, with people belonging to other faiths. In fact, ungodly faiths. And their religion also was not exactly what the Jewish people followed. And so they were a no-no people. They were marginalized. And so now Jesus tells a story of a Jewish person coming from Jerusalem, going down to Jericho. Now, this must be a Jewish person, because who else would travel from Jerusalem to Jericho? Well, robbers come, mug him, beat him, leave him half dead. 2 religious people pass by after that. One was a priest, another a Levite, and it says that they passed on by the other side. Now, let's not jump to conclusions and pass quick judgment on them. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they had somewhere else to go. They had pressing engagements. Or maybe they were afraid. If we stop, maybe this is a ploy. Somebody is going to jump us and we'll get robbed. So they hurried along. But then the story goes on to say about this Samaritan. Remember this person that Jewish people don't like? A Samaritan comes, sees this man, is moved to pity, gets off his animal, looks after his wounds, binds his wounds, puts him on his animal, takes him to the inn, stays with him the night, looks after him through the night, sees that he's a little better, and then leaves because he's got work. He must have stopped all his work just for all of this. But he goes to the innkeeper, gives him some money, saying, "I promise I will return with more money if you need it, if you've spent more," and then goes on his way. And Jesus asks, you asked the wrong question. And what was the question? This man had just heard from Jesus, Jesus' summary of the Old Testament. Love the Lord your God with all your very being, and love your neighbor as yourself. And the man asks, "Who is my neighbor?" And Jesus says, wrong question. The question is, who are you a neighbor to? Because anyone that comes in contact with you, you who have experienced God's goodness, you who seem to know God's love, you who knows God's grace, His undeserved love to you. Now, if you've experienced that love, if you see somebody in need, how are you going to respond? Are you going to show pity, show love in action to that person? Because only a good neighbor will do that. Someone who's got the love of God in them will have that love overflow, and such a person is a good neighbor. Are you a good neighbor? Or like, you may remember this, like a good neighbor, but we won't complete that. Are you a good neighbor? Because only someone who knows Jesus can be a really, truly, truly good neighbor in the way he's talking about. Thank you for listening. Do go onto our website, consciaunited.com, and tell other people about us, and join in next week. God bless.